On this episode of Bite Sized, we are taking a look back at some of my favorite moments from episodes 31 through 40. If this is your first episode, you picked a great place to start. And now, on to the episode. What is your history with the Twilight franchise?
I hadn't read the books, but when Twilight was out in theaters, my mom wanted to see it, and so she asked me if I wanted to see it with her. And I was like, yeah, I'll see a movie with you, Mom. I don't know what it's about. Well, I was like, what's it about? She's like, vampires, and I don't like horror movies, so I was like, is it scary? She goes, no, so it's about, she could explained it a bit. She goes, about this girl in high school, and she falls in love with a vampire. And I was like, okay, sold. This sounds great. So I went and I watched it, and I don't know, like, what it was, because I think I left just kind of being like, okay. And then I think reading the books kind of like kicked it into high gear for me, because I thought the movie was like, yeah, I liked it, but then my mom gave me the books, and because they're deceptively easy to read because they're long, but the print is really, really big. So
it is.
Yeah, so actually all my Twilight books are right next to me. I bring them with me wherever I go.
Oh, good, just in case.
Yes, just in case. And then I have Midnight Sun on my Kindle. But yeah, so my mom gave me all her Twilight books, and I read through them all. I think the world of Twilight is so interesting and so weird, and the vampire lore is just so, like, melodramatic. And
it's a great word for it.
Yeah, I've sat through every movie. I eagerly anticipated Breaking Dawn. I did become a bit more jaded because I did kind of enter, not like the fandom, because the fandom didn't really happen until I hit kind of like late middle school, but there was definitely like the pushback, and I was like very secret about my Twilight love. I was like, it's a secret in my heart.
Were you being persecuted for it? Why did you need to hide it?
I wasn't, but I saw my fellow kindred being persecuted for their love.
Did you have like real life friends that were into it, or was this strictly an internet-based fandom?
Oh, no, I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things on the internet at the time. I would say that, like, my mom and I were, like, because we do it together, and it's kind of, like, age-appropriate to do with your mom.
So your mom was the one bullying you for liking
Twilight?
No,
she liked it, and she encouraged it.
Yeah.
She encouraged it. I'd say my dad teased me, but, dads never understand, just like Charlie's fun.
We're going to talk a lot about dads today.
Never understands.
Yeah.
I think also just, like, reading stuff on the internet, just, like, all this vitriol at Bella, who is literally just a teenage girl. I was like, oh, I can't be loud about my love, or else I will be nailed on the cross like Bella is.
When did you decide to stop hiding that side of you? When did you become an unabashed, unashamed Twilight fan?
Probably just kind of like around college, where I was like, I don't care anymore. It's whatever. And it just was kind of like fun to think about, because I do have a lot of positive memories, like going to movies with my friends and talking about it, and like trying to dress like Bella, and then like watching all of the things that are like adjunct to Twilight, like the Vampire Diaries, which I never got super into, and I'm like watching now as an adult. But it was just like, it was fun and silly. And I think, I don't know, I graduated into the year 2020, so I was like, I need like one bit of whimsy to get me through to the next day.
Right.
And I think like just kind of unabashedly being like, yeah, I like Twilight. It's dumb, but it's my dumb thing, so shut up.
That seems to be, the reputation that Twilight has now, that dumb but it's my dumb thing, is very much where Twilight fans has landed, and I think that's a good and surprisingly healthy approach to fandom that you don't typically see. Like, I don't know, to use an example of like Star Wars fans, for example, can get pretty toxic about either this is bad and therefore it's horrible and no one should ever watch it again, or this is actually secretly good and the bad things are actually secretly good things.
Yeah, I'm a Star Wars fan,
shocking.
So
Same. I say that with a certain amount of self-awareness. That, like, and speaking of self-awareness, that's exactly what I would, say is in Twilight fans. This knowledge that, it's bad, but it's our bad. I think it's beautiful. And something you don't see, that sort of honesty is refreshing in fandom spaces. But we are talking about a scene today, so let's get into that scene. We have our second dramatic Googling scene in about 10 minutes. That's right, this movie has given us 2 of them. Bella, she's had some more realizations. She's reading a book. She Googles vampire lore and realizes that Edward is probably a vampire. That's the overhead view. Let's get into the scene. What'd you think of this one?
Hot girls do their research.
They do. Hot girls love comparative mythology.
Yes. I listened to this podcast and I was like, I swear to God, someone already did the research scene. Are there 2 basically in a row? Okay, so the first one, she's looking, she like finds that book.
Yes.
And that's where she goes to buy it when she's like ostensibly prom dress shopping, correct? Okay,
This
so
is
now
episode
she has her
28
book.
For those of you listening.
Yes, in the first couple scenes of the clip, she's looking at that book. I assume it's the same book. And then she goes back to Google again, which I love. Again,
Yeah.
so real. It's 2 a.m. and I'm like, I have to know this thing. I have to figure out this guy.
It really does make me wonder. Oh, my dryer is playing a song right now. I should have turned that off before we
Schubert.
started recording. Yeah, that is Schubert. How'd you know that?
I had a CD when I was a kid called Beethoven's Wig. Shout out to Beethoven's Wig.
Okay.
And it took a bunch of classical music and put words to them, and a lot of the words included the composer.
Okay.
So now, as an adult, I can be like, Franz Liszt.
That's incredible. When we got this dryer, when we moved into this apartment that came with this washer and dryer, it took me a long time to think that dumb song that the dryer plays may be an actual song, and I had to Google it to figure out what it was.
Something about a trout?
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. I'm astonished that you knew that much just based on the little beep boop clip that my dryer played.
You know why? It's because hot girls do their research.
Hot girls do their research. They're in the car together and not really talking.
They're not.
No,
that's what made me think there was like a fight before this, because I'm like, you could cut the tension in that car with a knife.
It wasn't a fight so much as it was just a weird conversation where, like, I don't know, I don't want to go on another rant about this like I did in the last episode, but it's a weird conversation where Edward is lying to Bella even though he knows she doesn't believe it, so he's not really trying to lie well, and then she's not believing him, and it's just weird, and it's not fun to watch, and I don't like it, and I don't like that they've had like 4 or 5 of those conversations in the first 40 minutes
Well,
of this
now
movie.
in this scene, no conversation.
No conversation. Bella says that she's warm enough now, because I guess she was cold.
I guess she was. Well, they're in Washington.
They are in Washington,
cold.
and I guess, like, yeah, I don't know.
I've never been to Washington. I can't vouch for them, but I don't know. Washington cold.
Washington cold, yes, but I have been to Forks once, and driving from Port Angeles, where they had dinner, to Forks takes a while, and so clearly
How
they're
long
like,
is like an hour? Or
I recall it being like an hour and a half.
Okay.
I'm going to look this up just to make sure I'm correct.
Yeah, might as well. I don't know anything about Washington geography. I'm an East Coast girly.
Sure. Okay, an hour and 6 minutes with current traffic.
Okay.
But like, if they're at the Forks police station, clearly they're like at the tail end of the drive.
Yeah.
And she's been in the car for around an hour.
Yeah.
That should be more than long enough to get warmed up, is all I'm trying to say.
She's probably sweating in
Yeah.
there. She's like, how much longer can I not talk to this man and just let the sweat pour down my body until I reach a breaking point?
Unless they're doing that weird thing where they get in the car and it was cold, so they turn the heat on and it gets too hot, so they turn it off, and then it gets cold again, so they turn the heat back on again.
Are they fighting over the dial one by one
I don't know.
in silence?
Maybe. It's possible. But they both reach for the AC at the same time.
Their fingers just graze.
Just barely graze.
They barely graze.
Just the
which
softest.
is why her reaction is so funny to me, because she's like, I'm like, you barely touched him.
Right. And her reaction is to say that your hand is so cold.
Okay, I think I'm warm enough now. Your hand is so cold.
And then it cuts to a quick shot of his hand in case you forgot what hands are.
Well, yeah, of like, oh, that one?
It was
that
such a
thing there?
weird.
Oh, not the that's a steering wheel.
Right.
Duh, that's the hand.
It's just like a quick, like, 1 or 2 second insert of his hand holding the steering wheel. And I really don't know why they needed to put that in there, because we know what hands are.
You know, the runtime was just a second short, and they were like, fuck, where can we add one more shot in there that's not going to devolve the plot. And someone was like, well, I got this B-roll of hand.
I guess. I don't know. But like that had to have been on the shot list of like things they needed to get that day of like, all right, and just hold the steering wheel for a second. Great. Thanks.
Grip it. You
Thanks,
can
Robert.
feel feelings.
Or whatever hand model they had stand
Oh, do you think that's his real hand?
I know that it happens that most directors, if you don't need like the actor's face in there, it's not uncommon to use a stand-in for something small like that.
That makes sense.
So it's possible. If they were already in the car, they probably would have just, it's also something you can just get very quickly. So I don't know that they would need to bring in a whole other person. So I think it's probably him.
I would need a hand model because I bite my nails like a motherfucker.
Yeah.
And the camera does not need to see how bad these are. I need a hand model.
That makes me wonder, can vampires bite their nails?
Well, why wouldn't they?
Well, because they don't grow back, do they? And they're obviously very they're very tough.
It's made of the same stuff as nails are made of the same stuff as hair. Does vampire hair not grow?
Well, and that's a good question because vampire skin turns into like stone basically.
Yeah.
So then do their fingernails and then does their hair turn into stone because it moves like hair does?
Yeah.
So what's the deal with vampire fingernails?
I don't know.
And if you bite your fingernail, does it just stay like that forever?
Oh, then I'd be fucked.
Yeah.
Just don't turn me into a vampire. My fingers will be nubs forever.
If you are gonna get vamped, make sure you get a good manicure first.
Just consider all the consequences.
Just like getting engaged, make sure you have a good manicure, you got a haircut,
Yes.
you're ready to be in all the pictures.
Vampirism and engagement are the same thing.
Don't say exactly when it's going to happen, but just give you some warning in advance.
I want a little heads up.
Right. Well, now that we're about halfway through the episode, let's get into...
I told you I ramble, Ben. I'm sorry.
No, and I told you I appreciate that.
Good.
So let's get into the scene. I'll give you a brief overview and then we will dive on into it. Bella and Edward pull up at a restaurant in Port Angeles. Angela and Jessica are walking out, apparently having just eaten. They talk for a little bit. It's all very awkward and giggly, and then they go their separate ways. That's it. Let's get into the nitty-gritty deep dive into the episode.
Let's do it.
I want to talk a lot about the restaurant that they're at. It's a blink and you miss it kind of thing.
I think I know what you're going to say.
The name of the restaurant is The Bloated Toad. Which I gotta say, as restaurant names go, not a good one.
Awful name.
You got 2 words in that name. And I'd say bloated is maybe the one thing you don't want to feel when you're leaving a restaurant.
No.
And a toad is quite possibly the least appetizing animal, known for being slimy and covered in warts. I did a deep dive into the name The Bloated Toad because I just can't believe... I want to understand why it is that. It's not real, for starters. That's not a real restaurant. It is a house somewhere in Oregon that was converted into a restaurant. It's also not the name of the restaurant in the book. In the book, it's called Bella Italia, which is a little on the nose that you're sending your character Bella to a restaurant called Bella. So then who came up with the name The Bloated Toad? And why was that person not shot down immediately?
Or knighted, because it's kind of brilliant in a really weird way.
Well, we don't knight people here in America.
No.
What's the closest thing we have to knighting here in America? I don't know. We let you be a judge on American Idol. That's what happens when you get knighted here.
There you go. I mean, this is not as good as, really, I suppose.
Yeah. As much as this is something that is not in the book, you will blink and miss it type of deal. So much effort went into developing the bloated toad. There is a sign with a toad on it. Angela and Jessica are standing in front of like a giant gold toad statue.
I feel like it's ingrained in my mind because it's one of my favorite moments, and the bloated toad has always been something that I'm like, oh my god, bloated toad. So, and this is what I mean, you know, what we've been talking about earlier and on Forking Out is that even after all these years, you still find things out. I never knew that it was, you know, not an actual restaurant. So that's my thing I've learned today, Ben. So thanks.
You're welcome. You learn something new every day,
Yeah,
especially
you
here
do.
on Bite Size. Yeah, I got to say, Bloated Toad, it's supposed to be an Italian restaurant they're going to. Bloated Toad does not scream Italian to me.
No.
It in fact has a quite British feel to it.
It's very gastropubby.
Very pub, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm really just hung up on the toad statue outside the front, because there is where
so cute.
Did they already have that and we're looking for a way to justify it? Did they come up with this joke name for the restaurant and then just have to then acquire a toad statue to put? I don't know. I don't understand.
There's so much to unpack. There's so many more questions than answers, I feel like.
So I'm going to challenge you now, Will Nicholson, to do what she did. And in 40 seconds, I want you to name 3 things about which you're absolutely certain. Positive, go.
3 things about which I am absolutely positive.
35 seconds.
1, I live in Chicago, Illinois.
Very factual, 30 seconds.
2, that makes me cold much more often than I would like to be.
Okay, 23 seconds left.
And 3, every time I go outside,
15 seconds.
I always unquestionably wish that I had brought a slightly heavier jacket.
Okay. And 5, 4.
No, that much?
Yeah.
That much time left?
Yeah, you had a lot, and now time is up.
Oh, wow. I was really trying to hit the pace of the scene so that there would be like a couple seconds of an Edward lean in there, but I undershot it.
Yeah, you did. You had a lot more time to think of things other than
where I live in the weather.
Basically, let's be honest. Facts 1 and 2 are I live in Chicago and I live in Chicago. I don't mean to judge the 3 things about which you're absolutely positive, but
I mean, look, I've had a long day. You're asking, well, guess what?
Yeah.
That was my door buzzer.
I wonder what secret guest that's going to be. You can let someone in.
All right, great. I will say that.
We'll pause this recording for a second.
Yeah, absolutely. It's Aksha.
Oh, hi, Aksha.
Hey, guess what? You're going to hear a lot of this again later.
Look who it is. It's editor of the show, Ben Aksha.
Hey, everybody.
Ben, would you like to take a challenge that Will just did? Okay, come sit down for a second. Grab the mic.
So, editor of the show, Ben Aksha, has just entered my apartment, and we're going to give him the same challenge that I just had. And we were not going to give him any idea of what I did, because I want to see what he comes up with.
Ben, this is going to make more sense to you when you actually edit the episode.
Okay.
But in 40 seconds, I would like you to name 3 things about which you are absolutely positive. Go.
In general,
yeah.
The Earth rotates around the sun.
35 seconds.
There's no way for me to breathe in space, and I'm 35 years old.
Okay, great. 25 seconds left. Much more efficient than Bella Swan. Not too bad at all.
Man, 2 of them were space related.
Yeah, that's true. And one of them was your age.
And one of them was my age. They could have been all me related, I guess.
Yeah.
But I'm not the center of my own universe.
This is fun. For the listeners' reference, we're recording at Will's apartment tonight because I'm getting in a recording session before our bi-weekly Dungeons & Dragons game. And more former guests of the show may pop in as the doorbell rings, and I'm really tempted to make them do the same thing.
Well, I'll hand it back over to the proper guest for this week.
Thank you, and apologies in advance for the audio quality of this episode.
Thank you, Ben. What a treat. I love
that,
again, a lot of self-facts that come forward.
I like the fact that Ben Aksha is absolutely positive that he cannot breathe in space, despite, to my knowledge, never having been to space or trying.
He might be able to. He might be the first genetic mutation in humanity that can breathe vacuum.
And maybe dang NASA's been lying about the breathability of space.
You don't think it's a vacuum?
Can. What?
You don't think it's a vacuum?
I don't know what's up there. I've never been.
Wow.
I couldn't tell you.
What if Dyson's in on it?
It's a possibility. I was trying to think of a vacuum joke too.
Great.
Anyway.
Glad we got there. For your information, Aksha, my 3 things were about how I lived in Chicago. It's cold and I need a jacket a lot.
It's not cold right now.
No.
Well, often it is.
Edward is there to pick her up for something. School. We will learn in the next scene. Bella goes to the window to look at him. And it's really this particular shot that makes me think she has not got out of bed yet, because that is not the hair of someone who has looked in a mirror. She's got bedhead. She's got movie bedhead.
Okay, for sure. And I hear that. And I'm going to take an opposite position just because that's kind of the energy we've had this episode.
Yes.
And I think you're forgetting one critical piece of information, and that is Kristen Stewart does a hair touch always.
But this is not something that she touched. She's got like an enormous swoop of someone who just got out of bed.
And that's not...
No, I'm not even talking, like, she does not, to my knowledge, touch her hair and make it do that. She just walks up to the window and has some real Conan O'Brien action going on.
Right, but has she been doing that in bed previously?
I don't know.
This scene starting.
I don't know.
I posit yes.
But I posit that is further proof she's not yet gotten out of bed.
I think that as we've gone along, you're probably more right.
Yeah.
But I also am too entrenched in my arguments to admit that.
And I think it makes for a better episode if we disagree.
I will also say that this scene is I'm calling it right now. I'm Babe Ruthing it. This scene absolutely had to be the first time so many people that were of the age to start reading Twilight, like my demographic. I'm betting it is absolutely the time where a lot of those people learned how to pronounce irrevocably. Irrevocably. I can't do it. I still can't. She just said it in the movie. I still call it irrevocably because I read it before I ever
irrevocably.
Heard it. And irrevocably, it's there. Yeah.
I will say, props to Kristen Stewart. She's given a lot of tough words and
oh yeah, it's a word salad. She's chewing through,
and especially because the way she phrases it is like. There were 3 things about which I was absolutely positive. Like very good grammar to make sure you're not ending the sentence with a preposition. So it's a very unnatural, very formal way of speaking that she handles very well.
And I think that adds to the melodrama of it. That adds
absolutely.
To that like heightened romantic
purple prose. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
But no, she does well with it. And it is such an iconic line. She has to deliver it well, and I think she does. I think she delivers what the fans wanted with
absolutely,
that line.
Absolutely. She also delivers as she's looking down at Edward in her car. She sort of like shrugs and gives a little head shake, sort of in like a "Oh, you rascal" kind of way that to me communicates that she was not expecting this.
Yeah, no,
this was not something he did not say. I'll pick you up for school tomorrow.
Because he's been such a good communicator before now.
Well, yeah. But he just sort of showed up and honked.
Yeah.
And now...
Oh, my vampire boyfriend.
Per my theory, that she is getting out of bed for the first time, he has to wait for like 30 minutes while she eats breakfast and brushes her teeth and packs her backpack and gets ready for school. And he's just sort of standing around out there leaning on his car because... he didn't warn her, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I guess you're locked in on that get up and go mentality.
Oh, we got another guest.
You're locked in on that. I'll get it clean for you, Aksher. You're locked in on that get up and never mind.
The doorbell rang again. It's time to see which former guest is going to be walking into the studio now to take my challenge again. That sounds like episode former guest Sarah Murphy. About to make her 3rd appearance on the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is fun. We should do this. We should ambush more people with podcasts. Sarah, we have a question for you. Yes.
For me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the podcast?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's up?
Go ahead. Take a seat.
Hi, should I talk into the mic? What's up?
Hi, Sarah Murphy. How's it going?
It's going good. What's
Welcome
up,
to your
there
3rd appearance
Will Nicholson
on an episode of Bite Sized. Sarah, I'm going to put you up to a challenge that these 2 guys have now done.
Oh no, I'm scared.
It's fun. You'll understand more when if you listen to the rest of the episode. But I'm going to give you 40 seconds. You have to name 3 things about which you are absolutely positive. Go.
That Matt Groening is the creator of Futurama, that I have seen every single episode of Lost, and that I am getting married to Megan.
Okay, that's 3 things in 9 seconds. Great, good job. If you were in that restaurant and he read your mind, what would his 1-word summary be of your thoughts?
I mean, what age am I?
You are the just currently the age you are now.
Okay.
You're magically, or any restaurant really. Edward's there. He's reading your mind. What's the 1-word summary he would give to Kristen Stewart?
He'd probably be like, "Oh, that guy just hates everybody here."
Yeah,
that guy's really annoyed that he's at this restaurant and all of these people are around him, and he wants to be home. As soon as possible.
Makes sense.
In his house, on his couch, as quickly as possible.
If he looked at me, if he read my mind at a restaurant, he would probably say, that guy is obsessed with the menu and making sure he's ordering the right combination of appetizers, entrees, and drinks.
Yes.
Because for whatever reason, when I sit down at a restaurant and I look at the menu, there are wrong answers and right answers, and I have to get it right.
Okay.
I'm the kind of guy that if I know I'm going to a restaurant, I will get online and look at the menu the night before and figure out start thinking about what I should order.
That's what my wife does. And I am the exact opposite. I feel like discovering the menu is part of the experience for me. Part of the restaurant experience is sitting down and going, I have no idea what I'm going to see. And then getting it and going, okay, now I have to rely purely on instinct.
Yeah.
now I become primal.
See, I can't do that. There's two reasons I can't do that. One is, what if I get to the restaurant and there's nothing that I like?
Sure.
That's a failure. That's a lost condition. Another is, what if there are too many good things and now I have to spend 40 minutes thinking about which one of these is the best thing, and the waiter's going to hate that. I cannot go into it open-minded like that.
I go into it and I say, what is my body craving at this exact moment?
That's incredible.
It's about instantaneous, because if the plan the night before, it's like, yeah, maybe that's where my headspace was the night before.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where what my body wanted in that moment. But when I go into the restaurant, I'm like, what is right now? I'm present.
Interesting.
And I am a present person.
I wish I could be that. If you had to give this scene a name, what would it be? And this is going to be the name of the episode, so make it good. And hopefully you told me you listened to an episode, so hopefully you listened all the way to the end and knew this was coming.
Oh,
This is one of those moments I warned you about, in which I would be putting you on the spot.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you...
You look very pleased with yourself. I want the listener to be as hyped for this as I am.
I'm going to give you... So I'm going to give you an option, and this is only funny to me and maybe my the boomers.
Okay.
Alley oops.
Alley oops. Okay. Or
hey, you get into my car.
Get into.
Oh.
Now what was that?
That was get out of my dreams.
Oh, get out of my dreams and into my car. Okay,
what about that? That might be better.
Get out of my dreams and into my car.
Get out of my dreams and into my car.
Okay. Do you want to keep alley oops in there in any way?
Do you like alley oops?
This is your decision. This is, as I've told past guests before.
Tell me.
No, I'm not allowed to have a say in this because as I told my guest a couple episodes ago, the reason I started asking my guests to name the episode is because I was too lazy to do it myself, and I thought I'll make my guests do it, so it's a fun joke and less work for me. And now whatever my guest tells me to do, I'm honor bound to stick with. So whatever you tell me to name it is going to be the name. Those sure were some good times with great friends. Hey everyone, Ben from the present here, popping in to wrap things up at the end of the episode. I like to do these recaps fairly regularly. If you've been around for a while, you know this. I think it's a great way for listeners to get into the show. New listeners get to sample it, see if this is something they like, and maybe go catch up on some old stuff if you don't want to go back and listen to everything, though I recommend you do. I'll keep doing these fairly regularly, especially on weeks like this one when I need a break. Regular episodes resume soon. Got some pretty exciting guests that I'm very happy about. Really can't wait for you to hear those episodes just around the corner. If you like the show, please subscribe to it on your podcast app of choice. Follow it on social media at bitesizedpod_ on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Share it with a friend. Share it with your friend whose name is Kellen Lutz, perhaps. Seriously, word of mouth is my greatest advertiser. I've seen huge growth. Like, the show is more than 10 times larger than it was when we first started. Each month has been better than the last for the last basically this entire year. Thank you so much to all my listeners who have been a part of that. Can't wait to see where this goes in the future. I have incredible plans for 2025. 2024 has already been so much better than expected. Thank you to my editor, Ben Oxshire, for making normal episodes sound much better than I can. Thank you, as always, to the band's Swimwear department for letting me use their song Mauled to Death as our theme. Thank you to Kellen Lutz for one day listening to this show and being on it. That is all we have for this episode. Regular episodes resume next week. Until then, as we always say at the end of every episode.
Oh, I'm okay. We always say this, and we've said it for 1,000 years. Keep your pants on.
Already dead. Womp womp.
Don't get bloated with toads.
Don't get bloated with toads. A new favorite. See you next time.
I don't even know what happened there. Sorry, everyone. Bye.